Hi everyone, it's Atuksha from Simple Crowdfunding. Today I'm in Folkestone looking at some properties with Haico who heads up our marketing department. Heiko's got tons of experience. I've known him for years. I set up my CRM consulting business with him many years ago, and Heiko's been working on some projects, one of which is in Portugal. So over a drink, we've decided to have a chat, and Heiko has offered to share his experience. Hope you enjoy it. Bye. Hi Heiko, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm right, thank you very much. Having a wonderful day in Folkestone, now in a bar drinking. So one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about, and I think one of the things that everyone should know about you, is you actually have quite a lot of property experience, don't you? But before we go into that, can you just tell people a little bit about you and about your quirkiness?
Yeah, about my quirkiness. Oh dear, how long have we got? Well, I'm the head of marketing for Simple Crowdfunding, and I've known Davin and Atuksha for, gosh, over 20 years now. Traditional marketeer, studied marketing, been doing it for 30 years now. So, yeah.
And so we met when I was working for a CRM consult company, right?
Correct.
And you were actually one of the clients.
Mm-hmm.
And then we ended up setting the CRM consulting business up together.
Yeah.
And then it's all just gone downhill from there, hasn't it?
Yes. No, it was a fun experience.
But actually, you've got a ton of marketing experience. You started off in travel, didn't you?
Yes. Well, originally I started out in an industrial engineering company that only lasted for about a year, first job, as you know. Then I moved into retail for about just under 4 years. And after that, I ended up in travel. And yeah, most of my experience has been in the travel industry, and then later on into telecoms.
And telecoms was out of Curacao and
Yeah, telecoms.
the Dutch Antilles, right?
I did the Netherlands first for a couple of years. Then went off to Curacao. Went down to South America, Suriname. Ended up doing consultancy project in Malta, and then came back to the UK.
And decided to get involved with crowdfunding with us, which
Yes.
we are very happy about.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I was really keen to also talk to you about is outside of all of that stuff, you're actually quite a dark horse when it comes to property, aren't you? Because we've obviously worked on some property projects together.
Yeah.
And we have some in Folkestone, which is where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, you were like pretty full on building a retreat in Portugal, weren't you? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, it actually all came about because my sister, who is a yoga teacher, is a doctor, and she's been doing yoga since she was about that tall. Her kids were actually all off to uni and getting into their jobs, and she wanted to go to a warm country. So we decided we looked at different options, and in the end we decided on Portugal. After a lot of searching, we found the area we wanted to be in, and eventually we found this derelict farm in the middle of a forest. That's what we decided to buy, really, in the end.
And there's something about Portugal, isn't there, in terms of not being able to build new, but you can renovate existing spaces.
Well,
or
what it is
space?
If you have a existing ruin or an existing building, you are allowed to use that footage and go up for the same type of footage as well. And that's basically what we did. It was an old farm. Originally we wanted to restore it, but it was, the roof had collapsed, the floors had collapsed. So in the end it was decided it's best to knock it all down and start from scratch. It had two outbuildings. One was chicken shed and a pizza oven where they bake the bread, which was a tiny little thing. So that was another room that we could use. And then because it's set on the hillside along a river, further down the river is what they traditionally have in Portugal, is what they call the adega, where they make the wine. So that was another room which we could convert. So we basically had 3 buildings that we could convert, and that's what we did.
So starting with the main house, because I came out to see it when it was partway through the build, and I was just blown away by the expanse of the building itself.
Yes.
And I just remember the top veranda, and that was some ridiculous size, wasn't it? Do you remember the size?
No, well, I mean, just to give you an idea, I don't know exactly the square footage of it, but the main building basically houses 5 ensuite guest rooms, and they're quite spacious. It has a communal living room and kitchen, which is massive, because obviously if you think about 10 people having to use that space. It houses my sister's apartment, which is a 2-bedroom apartment, and the yoga studio. So that gives you an idea as to the size of the building.
And the wine cellar at the back was some crazy size as well.
Yeah. So because it was built on the hillside, you actually have a separation between the building and the hillside, and we just have a long hallway going all across the building at the back. And where the chicken shed and bakery were, that was another building. So we converted that into, I know the size of that one, it's about 27 foot by 9 foot on one floor, but it's 2 floors up. So it's a separate apartment type little house, and the 2 buildings are connected via 2 more rooms, which we got planning permission for later on. One which was what we were going to use as an office, and the other one where we have the tanks, the water tanks, and we've got batteries in there for the solar panels, because it's all eco. The whole resort was eco resort, so we don't have mains electricity. We have 2 boreholes, water holes. And I think we've got something like 27 solar panels to actually provide the energy for.
There's a river running through the grounds as well, isn't there?
There is a tiny little stream going, but it comes out into just at the bottom of the hill. There is a massive river. It's a Rio Zezere. Yes, it's lovely for swimming. You're in the middle of nowhere. To actually access our property as well, it's over a kilometres long from the main road to where we are, which caused a bit of a problem because of bad weather and trying to get through in winter when it's raining, and you need a 4-wheel drive. So
I remember that, and so the whole thing is eco, and that was really, really important to you, wasn't it? So you've got the solar panels.
Yeah.
You've got the boreholes.
Yeah.
The paint, even down to the paint, was very specific, wasn't it?
Yeah, we purely used eco paint, which is very expensive, and it's also quite a. It's not as simple as just painting. I mean, it causes a lot of headaches because it's quite difficult to apply, and you need different coats and stuff like that as well. So yes, that was quite a big job as well, the painting. But yes, it does, it does make it look nice. And although obviously not everything is eco, you need to find a balance between, what's eco, what isn't eco. The other thing is we have a massive swimming pool. It's really, really, I think it's about 20 meters long. So and that actually that's an eco pool as well. So excess water gets into a pond. My sister is very good at plants and everything else, So that's all been planted. So that actually cleans the water as well and gets back into the swimming pool. So yeah, because that's basically obviously what people are looking for when they get to a resort like that.
And the whole plot is fairly substantial, isn't it? Because I want to
Yes.
talk to you about the trees, because obviously there's been a problem
Yes.
in Portugal in general. So
Yes.
the plot, because I can't remember how big it is.
Yeah, again, it's massive. Um, I can't remember exactly
Roughly?
how. Sorry.
Roughly?
Roughly, my estimate would be, if I think about, we got about 4 or 5 terraces. They're probably about 80 meters long. Yeah. So it's probably about 1,000 square meters or something like that. If I look at downstairs as well, where the DA, so I've got quite a lot of land there.
Yeah.
Um,
And there were lots of trees, weren't there? So tell us
yes.
about the trees
Yeah.
and what you did from a land perspective.
Well, we cleared all the eucalyptus from our land because eucalyptus are, they grow very, very quickly, but they're also quite a fire hazard. And as we've all seen in the news over the last couple of years with the big fires in Portugal, once they catch fire, it's like oil catching fire, and it's very difficult to get rid of it. It's it's a very difficult dilemma because for the Portuguese, eucalyptus they can harvest every 7 years, and that obviously brings them money. Whereas traditionally it used to all be pine forest, and pine forest takes them about 25 years to grow and then get profits from it. So it's all very much short-term thinking, but then again, the average Portuguese earns at that time about €500 a month, so you can understand why they're doing it. But yeah, we cleared it. We got olive trees, recycled olive trees as well. And again, I said earlier, my sister researched quite a lot about fire-resistant plants. And there's different zones. So quite close to the house, you can't have trees. So there's about 3 different fire zones that you do. And recently, this year or last year, when there was a fire, our neighbour's land was completely burned. My sister had to evacuate the retreat as well, and we were very, very lucky because the whole resort was actually saved from the fire, whereas everything else around it was burnt to the ground.
So
And
by doing the work you did, actually worked in your favour,
it
right?
worked in our favour, and as says, my sister has been very good at that, and she's even had the local mayor and fire brigade come round to actually see what she's done, so that they can obviously learn from that experience. But
So it's been a really interesting ride for you. I know it's not all been smooth sailing.
no, not
And
at
there
all.
have been challenges. I suppose the question for you is, out of all the things that you experienced as part of the build, are there sort of maybe 2 or 3 takeaways so that stick with you, good or bad,
Yeah.
in terms of that build?
Well, I think the most important thing is speak the language. I think that is definitely a lesson. We all speak many languages, and we learn Portuguese ourselves as well. And we had a Swiss architect who was helping us, who'd been living there. So he was doing a lot of the Portuguese translations and stuff. But in hindsight, and it's always a lovely thing to say, it would have been good if our Portuguese had been up to scratch, so we could have been involved in certain discussions, because that's definitely where things went wrong. The second thing is that the way they actually do buildings in Portugal is completely different to over here. Here you get planning permission, you get on with it, and then at the end they come and actually just look at it and make sure you've built according to the plans. What you need to do there is that you need to go to the council every week. You need to declare exactly what's being done to the build, and that needs to be all documented. Now, this was something that the architect was going to do for us, and again, in hindsight, we found out that he hadn't been doing it properly, which then causes a lot of problems in actually getting your building approved. So I think that the two main lessons really.
Okay.
Yeah.
The one for me was when you said you'd started planting all these olive trees, and that you had olives 1 year from harvest, or that I just recall you sort of saying, yeah, I'm doing a soap course, and I was thinking, oh no, Heiko's going to be sending us soap that he's made from olives grown in his grounds.
Yeah, no, the olive trees are quite interesting because, picking olives is definitely a very humble experience. Don't try and do it by yourself because it takes you ages. I spent a couple of hours one year just in the morning, and you don't even fill a bucket doing it by hand. There are some tricks as well that the locals do, but again, it's over time. My sister has been working with the local people to do things. Yeah, it's that's quite a challenge. So yeah, very humbling. So yeah.
And now we're obviously looking at a project which is still being worked on in Folkestone.
Yes.
And that's sort of coming to conclusion as well, isn't
Yes.
it? So in terms of property and focus, at the moment it is the UK for you, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. This is again, it's a nice renovation. Building had 2 rooms which were completely soaking wet. The building hadn't been maintained very well, so last summer everything was tackled on the outside. We're nearly there now. They're starting on the inside. So hopefully in the next 2-3 months that will all be sorted, and they are gorgeous apartments. They're old Victorian buildings, the high ceilings, lovely features, spacious rooms. So it is going to be absolutely amazing once it's finished.
And you can live by the sea, right?
And you can live by the sea and
your
see
projects
France.
are by the sea.
Where we're sitting here, we can see France on the other side. Just about. It's a bit cloudy today, but normally on a good day you see France. In the evening you see the lights in France, and it's a lovely place to live. Close to the sea, lovely promenades, lovely for walks, cycling. Yeah, I love it.
And there's quite a lot of development on the marina, isn't there?
Yes, there's a lot of investment. The ex-owners of Saga, the brothers Dahan, are investing a lot of money into the town. A lot of artists have actually come down to Folkestone, and it's a really up and coming place to live.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And
Pleasure.
Portugal has been a very interesting story, and I've
Yes.
loved hearing about it. So thank you so much.
That's okay.